Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is going to be all about Jupiter and Pisces. Today is the day where Jupiter moves into Pisces. It was visiting there over the summer, from May 2021 to October, maybe. Hi, if you're just joining me, we're going to be talking about Jupiter and Pisces. We're going to be talking about each house. If you can't stay for the full live, this will be up on my YouTube, so you can check it out there. Can someone type in the chat? Can you hear me okay? I have my phone down. It's so Jupiter and Pisces. I'm resting the phone. Daisy, come here. There's a big bird out there, so the dog's barking. We'll see if that stops. But there's a big heron or something. Daisy, come here. Awesome. Okay, so we're talking about Jupiter. I think it's funny because I have a seashell that the phone's resting on. So it's very Jupiter in Pisces. Okay, so if you don't already have your chart up, you might want to just pull it up to look through and see where this is transiting in your chart. So I don't do sun sign where this is happening for you. We actually just look at what house it's going through, and I'm happy if you send me your chart through DM. I'm happy to tell you where it's transiting through. I won't read it for you, but I'll tell you where it's happening. Jupiter is in Pisces until it flies through. So from today until May, Jupiter flies through Pisces. So if you have any planets, placements, if this is your sun, if this is your rising, midheaven, important points in your chart, the directions, the 4 directions, this is going to be significant for you. Jupiter has spent the last year in Aquarius. And you can get your chart on my website, abigailbarella.com. It's on the homepage at the bottom. You can get your chart there, or you can go to astro.com. I use astro.com for when I'm doing readings because you can modify it so much. Hi, if you're just joining me. We're talking about Jupiter and Pisces. So go to astro.com or go to my website. I think aesthetically, I love the ones on my website, and for more being able to modify it or look at certain things, I like astro.com and I use it for readings. Okay, sorry, I'm kind of have the phone set up in a weird area. So let's talk about this last year. Jupiter has been moving through Aquarius, and Jupiter in Aquarius typically is a time where we think about the larger community, our future vision as a community, humanitarian issues, things like that. However, since Saturn's influence, last year at this time, we had the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. So Saturn made its imprint onto Jupiter, whereas Jupiter is about expansion and growth and luck and fortune, and wherever it is in your chart shows you how you're going to find these things. It's not materialistic. It's expansion in our consciousness, expansion in our hearts, expansion in our life. It can even be pregnancy. When a child goes through their Jupiter return, it's typically around 12 to 13 years, and that's when they get their growth spurt. I was just telling my son that he's about to go through his growth spurt because he's about to have his Jupiter return. So it's a time where we literally grow, literally, metaphysically, but also it can be financially. There's nothing wrong with it being materialistic. However, when it's in Pisces, as it will be for the next few months, it's really about expanding our consciousness. It's about expanding our spirituality, and massively it's about expanding compassion, something that in our world we've seemed to be lacking a little bit in. So it's very exciting to see this transit because, as I said, last year the Saturnian influence on Jupiter made things a little interesting, a little different. So we are definitely going to notice a levity, an optimism, and expansion as Jupiter moves out of the same sign as Saturn. Traditionally, Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. And so even though there is a certain level of Uranian influence with Aquarius, we have been going through a very heavy Saturn period, if you haven't noticed. And we just had Saturn squaring Uranus. So we've been in a really heavy astrological time. And in some aspects, this is going to continue until Pluto moves out of Capricorn. But this little dose of optimism is exactly what we need. So if you're feeling today like a fresh start, this reinvigorating energy, this Pisces is a lot about dissolving ego, dissolving anything that in your life is not carrying with it a greater spiritual significance. And so that dissolving nature of Pisces is so needed for what we've been through the last 2 years, okay? Because before Jupiter was in Aquarius, it was in Saturn ruled Capricorn. So the last few years have been really heavy. We know this, you know this. And so as it moves into Pisces, which we got a hint of last summer, where we had a lot of expansion, being able to see people more, all of those things, the hope is that that will continue. The shadow side of Pisces, though, is deception, is getting a little lost. It is addiction. It is the fog of Neptune. And so it's really important to use discernment in these next 5 months. Pisces is also about, and especially Jupiter in Pisces, is about being cautious and aware of substances, especially anything that has a liquid. And this might sound kind of funny, but very Neptunian is poisons, toxins, toxic water systems, things that happen. A lot of the global things we can look at were when water was polluted or messed with was during a heavy Neptunian influence. And in April of 2022, we will have Jupiter conjunct Neptune, both in Pisces. So that time in particular is very important when we look at those types of things, looking out for the shadow and really being in the light of that. And what that requires is consciousness. What that requires is healing. Of all the signs, Pisces is the most healing. It's where we dissolve any ideas of pride or ego that has kept us from our own forgiveness and compassion for self. So if you have a lot of 12th house Neptune influences in your chart, if you have a lot of Piscean influences in your chart, this is going to be like being home. And if you don't, this is such a welcome opportunity to experience those things in your life. So the last time you might want to look back to Jupiter in Pisces was 2010 time period. And so when you look back to this time period, this is going to show you what and where this looks like in your chart. So it was transiting the same place in your chart, of course, now with different influences. Now with Neptune in Pisces, and then we have Uranus and Taurus, which is going to be, making a sextile to this as well. Okay, so overall, let's talk about what Jupiter in Pisces looks like. It looks like more expansion in our intuition, our psychic sensory, like that extrasensory experience, knowing things, dreaming about things, having this expanded consciousness around things beyond the language that we speak, beyond the 3D things. This is a very 5D transit. And with that, it can be a little bit unsettling for those people that do have a lot of earthly placements that are of the earth, more Capricorn placements, more logical thinking. And this is why it's balanced by the polarity of Virgo. Pisces can, in its shadow, be very disconnected. It's a very dissociative with the 3D reality. So there needs to be this merging. So you want to look to your Virgo house too, and any Virgo placements to balance this, because Virgo, as we talked about, the shadow of Neptune, Pisces can be delusional or a toxic water type thing. Virgo is about purity, is about the purification process and putting with care what we put into our body, how we tend to our body. And so this transit really needs to be paired with health, mental health, physical health, really tending to our temple so that we can expand into this consciousness. Hello, if you're just joining me, if you know where Pisces is in your chart, please type it into the chat. Let us know. And if you're feeling some shift today, let me know in the chat how you're feeling today, if you're feeling this expanded optimism coming in. So we need to pair that very, at times, dissociative, too dreamy, too out there energy with tending to the temple, to the physical body, to purification, to all of the things that we know bring us health and well-being. Because when those two are paired together, we're unstoppable. When we have that consciousness, that dreaminess, that intuition, that psychicness, and the groundedness, that's like the heaven on earth thing, right? That's the thing. So really tending to our bodies is going to be up, and we want to do that. So I wanted to talk for a minute that planetary power is going to start in January, and this takes you through each one of the inner planets in your chart to plan and tend to and care for your mental, spiritual, physical health throughout your week. So each day of the week has a ruler, the planetary ruler. So to understand which planetary ruler in your chart is active or lit up that day can help you to ground in and anchor and plan for your week, for your month, for your year. So if you're interested in that, until January 1st, I have an early registration. The link's not in my profile, but I'll put it there. But you can message me and I can send you that link. It's basically like a group astrology class, but more like coaching, because I'll be looking at your chart and we'll be talking about your chart, and you'll be planning based on your chart. So if you've been wanting a chart reading from me, or you've been wanting to work with me, this is a great way to do so in an intensive 10-day container with other people to really learn and ask all your questions about your chart, okay? So if you're interested in that, reach out. Okay, and we're going to go through the houses. So what this looks like in transit based on your first house all the way through. There's 12 houses in the chart, and even if you don't have any Pisces placements, it occupies an area, a slice of the pie in your circle of life. And so to know what area of life it's highlighting for you is going to tell you a lot about intention and about discernment and about how to be in kind of the captain of your own ship, navigating these seas of Jupiter and Pisces. Okay, so we're going to go through the houses. I want to make sure I covered everything, though. I think the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure to talk about was the Pisces influences, which I did, and the transit of Jupiter conjunct Neptune, which is going to be huge in April. Once we get into May, Jupiter's going to move into Aries, which is going to be a huge shift from Pisces, and then we will have it retrograding back through into Pisces for the end of the year, so October to December. So this is the big learning time. We had a little hint of it last spring, summer, but this is really the learning time, the expansion time. And so Jupiter really is about luck and expansion. That being said, because it's in Pisces, we want to pair it with good health, because Jupiter can literally have us gaining weight, and in Pisces it can be a little bit of disconnection between what the body actually needs. So you want to anchor it in with that Jupiter energy. This is a great time period, though, in general for everyone to focus on spirituality or spiritual development, intuitive development, health and well-being, and especially higher consciousnesses, learning meditation. This is a great time also for, leisure activities surrounded in water, learning how to do things in water if you don't know how to swim, boating, that kind of thing. Yes, we all have Pisces somewhere in our chart. So thank you. Yes. And so that, and then anything having to do with infusing, like making sure on your altar you have something that represents water. I like to have a vase, even of flowers, right, with water in it, or a diffuser with water, or I like the little ones where the water sits on the top and the candle underneath. Just some element of water you're going to want to have on your altar. And especially when you're thinking about Jupiter being about money, consider the idea that money is an energy, and energy does have that fluidity, liquid assets. All of the money talk is a lot about water. And so the more, if you're wanting to learn money mindset at this time, flowing with your money, knowing more about the energy of money, it's a great time to dive into that. dive into it, get it. And then also learning about intuition. I also teach about intuition. So if you're wanting to learn more in that area, you can reach out to me. Okay, so let's go through the houses. And I have my cards here to help me. But if Jupiter in Pisces is transiting your first house, meaning, I'm just going to say this. If Pisces occupies your first house, before I do that, sorry. I do want to tell you that I'm doing year ahead readings that includes astrology. So if you're wanting one of those are only offered until January 2nd. So if you want to get one of those, definitely order yours now. Each one comes with a digital planetary planner. Hello. A digital version of the planetary planner. So the reading itself, I think, is $177, and it comes with the digital planner, and it comes with a recorded reading of me with your chart going over the transits of this year. And I allow you to ask, a few questions looking at your year, and then a tarot reading for the year. So it's a really amazing offer to get an idea of not only your astrology for the year, but also the energetics for your year, and then have the planner to anchor it in and plan around it. The way that I use astrology is very much in the feminine timekeeper way, where we can utilize the seasons, our own seasons, looking at the chart as kind of like a very ethereal clock, and being able to plan and utilize the energy that's behind us versus trying to push our way through things that are not meant to be in the timing of our life. So if you're interested, that is my special sauce around astrology. If you're interested in that, definitely reach out, get a reading from me. And that link is in my profile. I just wanted to mention that before I go through house by house, so that if you're just I want a little bit more, but I don't know, those readings are a great way to get that and to get a copy of your chart and the transits that will be happening this year for you personally. Okay, so the first house, if Pisces is in your first house, that means Jupiter's moving through your first house. It's expanding your magical identity, your mystical nature. You are just a mystic, and it's time to own it. So it's going to be expanding on that, asking you to maybe teach more, be in the leadership role more around these things. And because the first house is identity, having that self-understanding, learning more about you. This is especially if you're on the younger side. This is such a time for expansion. I love that it's kind of matching the blue sky behind. So this is a time about self-understanding and growing. So this is a great time to, if you're not stepping into a leadership role, or you're not ready for that, getting the resources that you need to be able to do that, using discernment to identify teachers, spiritual teachers. Yay! And let me know if you're feeling that. So that's going to be for the next 5 months, okay? So really lean into that. It's only 5 months. Lean into it. Use this energy that's behind you. If you have Jupiter transiting your second house, meaning you have Pisces in the second house, this is highlighting your money mindset, your liquid assets, the energy of money. And so you want to learn about that, utilize this energy that's behind you for gaining expansion, gaining resources in this way, utilizing your magical nature in terms of manifesting money, resources, what you have. It's also, in a more grounded sense, it's Taurus's house is about what you already have within you. And so it's about kind of sharing that more with the world so that you can expand your resources. Did you get a bath, Daisy? Okay, so second house card. Okay, interesting. I'm going to pull one more card. Fighting. So there can be this push and pull around maybe owning your resources and your magical nature. And that fight is internal, but it can be, because we live in a reflective universe, that can be also expanded out. Within fighting with someone about resources or about what you have. So making sure that you don't fall into that picture and do the inner work around it so that it's not out in your environment, because this is a time of possibilities. So instead of fighting, utilize the resources that you have and the possibility that you have, but that's going to require the inner work. So doing it. Any of the first 3 houses are about inner work, so you'll hear me say that. And so let's move on to the third house. The third house is about communication. It's about your closest connections and how you've defined yourself based on how other people have viewed you. And this is also about like, so sibling dynamics, your birth order, your cousins, your closest community, your neighborhood, and your first teachers and what they thought of you and how that made you feel about yourself. So the third house, when Jupiter's moving through here, is going to expand on those themes, those issues. And when it's doing that, it's going to require your participation. It's going to require your participation in terms of defining for yourself who you are, expanding into more communication roles, speaking up, not because there is this element with Pisces. It's kind of like the silent, this like, the Pisces energy isn't always using the language. It's using body language. It's using art. It's using poetry, which is fine. You can use poetry to express yourself. Just make sure you're participating in some way, expressing yourself in some way. Otherwise, you will build resentments. So if this is transiting your third house, make sure that you're utilizing your communication, participating, making sure things aren't put on you and that you're communicating what you need in some way. The best way is words. So if you struggle with that, you can write it out first, discern and decide what you're actually going to share vocally. But it's very important to exercise that throat chakra when you have Pisces in the third house, because it typically can be a challenge. And this is especially so if you have planets or placements there. Hi, if you're just joining me, we're going through the houses of astrology. Everyone has Pisces somewhere in their chart. We're talking about Jupiter moving through Pisces, and we're talking about each one of the houses. So now we're on the fourth house. And if you have Jupiter transiting your fourth house, this could be renovations on your home, moving to a new home. This could be feeling at home in your body in a bigger way, feeling more intuitive in a bigger way. Because if you have Pisces in the fourth house, you come from typically either an intuitive lineage or your soul's path has led you to be intuitive in this lifetime. It's a part of who you are. It's your home. It's where you belong. And so there can be this expansion into self of ownership around that, and not needing to shame yourself or call yourself woo or call yourself whatever. It's just like you are who you are and you're owning it. So this also can be on the external, expansion of the home, moving into a new home, getting luck around the home, like getting, special offers on expansion, or getting a deal on something for your home that makes it feel more expansive. That's exciting, right? So let's see what the card is. Woo! Ooh! And then a harmony within the home. I love, this is such a Piscean card. And it really is about harmonizing with the self. And this ripples out into your home environment. So if you're feeling that, it's a good thing. And you really want to anchor into that. So using the home as a place for sanctuary, as a place for meditation, for peacefulness, bringing in those elements of harmony into the home is going to be a good time for that. And there might be some magical things that come your way around expansion in the home arena. Okay, so fifth house. If you have Jupiter in Pisces transiting your fifth house, this is the house of children. This can literally be conception, because don't get scared. It's not for everyone, right? It's not always that. I was just writing a post about how this can be conception of a business. This can be conception of a leisure activity. Someone that I was working with last year, over the whole, I can't even say the word, this time frame that we've been in, she had to let go of some of her leisure activities. And it was through this process of rebirthing, expanding into a new leisure activity, that she found mental wellness, physical wellness, right? And so these things are not frivolous. The fifth house is about leisure, but it's in a way of bringing that harmony and that balance to your life. So the fifth house is about children, because it's that childlike play. And because it's the house of children, it can also be the house of romance, of passion, because what brings us children, right? And because of that, it's also that playfulness that we have in relationships, where when we're in love, in the beginning stages of love, everything is expanded, right? It's all playfulness. It's so fun. And this is the energy that you're getting right now, a big boost of. So enjoy that. Find a new leisure activity. Maybe it is, if you are wanting to conceive, it's a great time to conceive. But this is also like a water leisure activity. Swimming. This can be just using water as a way to soothe yourself and to find new meaning. Boating. It could be so many things, right? But definitely with this energy, it's about bringing that fun back into your life where maybe it has been missing for a bit. And the card for this house is morality. I'm going to pull a new card to add to this, because this card is a little bit confusing with this transit. So it might be breaking through some of the beliefs around shame or around who you can and can't be, what that playfulness means about you if you let yourself go there, if you're like frivolous or like allow yourself to play. Even when I was talking about this, I had to like kind of bring in that element of like, no, it's important. But for many people, the playfulness has been conditioned out of us. This belief that if we're not, working hard enough, then we're not worthy of having fun, right? And that's BS, calling that out. So there might be a little bit of shame or something that needs to be worked through here with this placement. It's a great placement then to work with me, because that's one of the main things we work through. Okay, and this means you need to trust. Trust that you're worthy, trust that you deserve whatever you desire, all those things. It's getting warm out here with the sun. Okay, 6th house. If you have Jupiter in Pisces transiting your 6th house, we're looking at your day-to-day work and routines. And you are just a magical person in general, because having this in your 6th house means that you are in service to others in a very mystical, magical way. Even if you have a very rational 3D job, you're bringing in an influence to it of mysticalness, of the kind of the seer energy, the care, the compassionate energy to whatever you do. So this is a time where that's expanded, where you might get a raise or a new job opportunity because of how amazing you are. You are amazing, by the way. All of you, no matter what you have the placement in. But, hey, cards. Let's see what the card is for the 6th house. This can also be your health and well-being. So you really want to tend to your temple at this time and not overwork yourself, because with Pisces here, you can be the type that gives and gives and gives. This is very much like a nurse type, but a metaphysical nurse. So you really want to have those good boundaries. That's one of the things I didn't say with Jupiter and Pisces, is we want to be cautious around boundaries. So, okay, 6th house. Yeah. Okay, so being cautious around boundaries, not overgiving, not feeling that push-pull in every direction. And I want to pull one more card because I think this is a beautiful placement, but I do think the cautiousness there around if you do get a raise or you do get asked to move into a new role is like, how are you going to balance that with what you need for self-care and all those things? A murder of crows. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. I'm going to pull that again. Hi, if you're just joining, we're going through the houses. So if you have your chart, you might want to pull it up. Okay, 6th house. Okay, but it is a ripe opportunity, a ripe time. So as long as you're balancing it with the self-care, it seems like a very good time to step into expansion around your work, around your health and your well-being. 7th house. 7th house is the house of partnership. It can be business partnership, but it specifically highlights marriage. Any kind of contractual agreement that you have is 7th house. So especially marriage, it is that balance that we need to have. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. That balance that we need to have within our partnership. Oh, are you guys cleaning the pool? You guys, I'm going to have to do part 2, and I'm getting hot anyway, so that's perfect. Okay, I'll talk to you all later.